Okay. 20 past 12. Usually this thing flies just perfectly, and it has done for the last several rains, and now it seems to be holding a little bit, so I gave a blow down the line, so with a bit of luck I've got it worked out where it is now comparative to the handle there, and I'll just check the other one and it should go alright. I'll just keep an eye on them basically, and it should drop with a bit of luck. Yeah, seems to always prefer the big one in here over the smaller one, which is a good thing. It's even better if I line the little pot up there with where it drips in the bloody through the roof. Yeah, I'm pretty certain it's dropping already. Could blow the handle already there. There's a little seam line there. I'll just watch when it goes below that. But anyway, we've done quite alright, quite a lot better than anticipated. As I said, expected about 1/8 of an inch. It was 1/8 of an inch at lunchtime, and that may have been mainly from last night. And I didn't pour that out at lunchtime, I just left it go, and it's now 3/8 of an inch, which is a darn sight better than what was expected. Originally it was 1 to 4 millimetre, and 1/8 of an inch is 3.25, and 3/8 of an inch is 10 mil. 1 to 4 millimetre has suddenly turned into 10 millimetres, which is, it's 3 times what's expected, or basically more than double anyway, let's put it like that. So that's good. Pleased about that. In that it's gonna, tomorrow morning I'll have to change the pipes over with the IBC down there and put it onto the other one that I put that connector in through the side of, because it's definitely going to fill this one once these drain out, or at least by morning anyway. Even if it just sort of, I don't know, if it's gone up that much, it's obviously flowed some out. It can't have just held it all in these drums, because with 7 millimetres more, these drums would be overflowing, and that's exactly how much has come down since lunchtime, is 7 mils more, and they aren't overflowing, so some of it's obviously gone down the line already. So anyway, let's stop pissing around and light up the wood stove. How's that? One day, it was dumped there this morning, and the cats have completely stripped the damn thing bare, except for a little bit of sinew on the joint, in one day. You know what, pussy? Between the two of you cats, you're eating more meat than I do. Isn't that right, my pussy? Eh? Anyway, I chucked a few biscuits in there for them, and that'll do. I thawed the other one out, and then I bloody forgot to take it back with me, so you're going to end up fat bastards, aren't you? They don't usually eat this amount, but then again, I'm not one of these people that measures it out and gives it to them and has cats on a starvation diet. I just let them have it as they want, but it's also winter, and I think the whole eat a whole heap of stuff to keep my body warm thing is happening, because I know it happens to me, and I think it happens to pussycats, doesn't it? So there we go. Eat a darn sight more now than you usually do. Tail out the way, bud, I've got to close the door. Alright, this wood heater cranking. Woo! Cranking. It's actually a decent sized log that I found as I was mucking around with a little fire pit wood heater thingy. Quite a impressive size, but rotten. I just threw that in there to, yeah, I thought it would be good to throw in the wood heater when I initially picked it up, and I threw it in there to heat the place up, but it's not going to last very long, so I have to throw something else in. Anyways, I went down and checked out, I'm getting hot standing in front of this thing. I went down and checked out the IBCs, sure as eggs. What do you know? Filled the one I was filling up. Couldn't really take much more at all. Probably another blooming, oh God, 10 gallons or something, if that. So, yeah, I swapped over to the other one. And when I got back here, started slowly sort of filling the other one, and when I got back here, both the drums here are empty, so it's worked well. I don't know if it's going to rain much more. You never sort of tell, really. You start to think of the rain setting in full on, and then it'll go for, 5 minutes, 7 minutes, and then just stop altogether again, But anyway, we're rigged into the next one, so that'll all get caught as opposed to overflow and piss all over the ground, so yeah. It's probably past 12:30, so oh God blimey, it's 1:45. God blimey, no wonder I don't feel like I sleep that much, because I actually flaming don't some nights, but anyway. So I'm going to get to bed, and tomorrow's another day. I've cut down a lot of the, oh shit, I think I left the batteries behind as well. Yeah, well, whatever, I've got to go over for the other leg of lamb for the cats anyway. Cut down a lot of the stuff down the bottom there. Didn't quite flatten the second battery, but I could tell it was getting pretty low, and I cut into a hell of a lot of different smaller boxthorns, and we'll be parting them out tomorrow and chucking them on the pile like I was saying. Alrighty, one's only been plonked there about 10 minutes ago. That's the last one, so yeah, they certainly get into it. I mean, they strip that bone bare within flaming 10 minutes. So anyway, no, maybe it was 15 minutes. Anyways, going to try and light up that big stack today that's reasonably dense. I can probably light it under two different areas. I've just been moving the wood heater into another area to burn a whole heap of other scraps and bits and pieces. I'll tell you sure that meat smells as fresh as it could. And I've also been thinking, there's a bunch of construction pine that I thought was alright to be cut up for kindling, and it's just crap. And I might eventually move that wood heater over there and burn all that crappy pine. It's real rubbish, it's all completely rotted and all that. I thought it was good because I moved a few layers off the top, but they were good, and the rest is all rotten. And one of the side stacks of it as well was pretty good, and I've taken that over recently as well. Got to cut all that stuff up that I took over. Yeah, so anyway, I better continue on, and you might get to see a bit of a bonfire footage if it lights. I've got to show you guys this one. And this is one patch I'm sort of weighing up whether to. Some of that might be able to be moved up to the other one there. Just looking around, I might need to grab the wood heater, and maybe I'll just carry it from here over there. Not too big a task. But anyway, never mind that. This is what I wanted to show you guys. Yes, yes, yes. This has been deliberately cultivated. There's a good one. Just a bit of size comparison there. This has been deliberately cultivated in nurseries for about the last 5 to 7 years. It's called Dichondra. It's a ground cover that they sell for people to put in their garden to act as a ground cover. It's actually a native. Needless to say, I didn't plant this here. This is naturally on my property, even though in the past few years it's become commercialised for city garden use. And what do you know, it grows naturally with me. I knew I had some next to a rock. I just forgot what rock it was, and my parents have had it for absolute years in a rock, just a few metres away from their house. It's been growing on the back of that rock for years. But yeah, intriguing. So I got the two different native peas, and I got the Dichondra, and I saw this other one that I was saying about the other day, a spinach substitute, and I'm starting to wonder if I don't have that as well here, and I might have just sprayed it and killed it. But it's sort of like it looks almost like a succulent, like almost like fat hen or lamb's quarters that ate too much and got too fat. It's a strange sort of a thing. It's hard to explain unless you see it. But I resisted the attempt to buy some, to then realise that I may have actually killed some in the past. Because I can be a little bit suspect of ground covers, because there's one ground cover here that's a bona fide weed that's a bit of a pain in the arse. So, but yeah, it's good to identify some of these things, especially when you recognise stuff. I saw it on TV the first time it was being sold, and I said, I know exactly what that is. And yeah, I was right. Another interesting little phenomena that happens here. Water pools up in the top of rocks. There's another bit of a pocket. There's another one I saw walking back there before. Anyway. Going well, the wind's blowing it. This is got going a lot quicker than I expected. I was wondering it wasn't dense enough or whatever. It's good. Sort of want the wind to go up a bit, up there, hit into that. Otherwise I'm going to have to light that one separately. But it's doing good anyway. I've got to grab me concrete rake and start pushing stuff in. Okay. Well, that burn heap was just a bloody big flop. All I've done was just burn a bit of a tunnel through and then burn out another patch where I lit it a second time, and it's just bullshit. Majority of it's still sitting there. Mostly due to that slight wind. If there's no wind, it would have burned straight upwards and it would have worked well. But I was hoping to do this a lot earlier, but now I'm going to start pushing things around down the hill into that patch right there. Yeah, snipped off a lot last night. Before I was using this, before I even had that, here's the other method. Come through some of these little lops. That was all borer bits or hole saws. And there's another one that's like an old school borer bit, but a modern day version with a worm in the front of it. You know what I'm talking about if you know what I'm talking about. And yeah, drill into all this sort of stuff. I was using 3 different drills to chop in all this: the Makita, the DeWalt, and the little red Milwaukee. Be surprised how much work that little red Milwaukee can do, even though it was really out of the depths of a 12-volt drill. I'd whack the bore a bit in and off we'd go. And yeah. But anyway, got this now, and I'll tell you what, it's been a brilliant machine. I think I've already mentioned it, but there's 2 different models, and there's another one that's a hell of a lot smaller, and this is like the larger, heavier duty version. I thought this was the only one available, and then realised there's a smaller, lighter one at another shop where they actually with the same shop at a later time where they actually were stocking both of them. So yeah, anyway, start rolling all this stuff. Spent so long just playing around, burning all those other bits and pieces, which were still going at, that and hoping I was going to burn out that other big patch. I sort of haven't really got any of these rolling down the hill yet. Now there is the eggs of the bird-dropping spider. It's a spider who literally looks like bird shit. And yeah, used to have tons of them in the vineyard. And see little eggs and all that, but you wouldn't notice a spider. It literally just looked like bird shit sitting on the grapevine. And then the bird shit would suddenly run away. As I was saying last night, the ones that I can't move, I cut the stuff out of. If it is easy enough for me to literally start pushing them, and I've rolled that from up there, and then it sort of come down, and then it sort of dragged across a bit because I realised it wasn't going to line up with this stack, and then I kept pushing it down the stack. Those that I can, I will push in without clipping a heap of shit out of it and blah blah blah. Those that it's really just too much, that's where I get stuck in the trunks and clip the trunks out. I just realised that a lot of this crap here is held on by this one here, which is still stuck in the ground and still live. So I might chop that off. I don't think it'll go flying downhill. I think if I cut that off, at least then I'll have a bit more of a chance to pack more stuff underneath here. This is the thing, a lot of it, once it all intertangles with each other, if this piece wants to roll away, then it's got to drag this with it, and that one, and blah blah, so on and so forth. And they're sort of all, you know, won't let each other go anywhere. It's a bit like communism, you know, all these countries all join into the Eastern Bloc, and then they all make sure that none of them go anywhere. They just financially stagnate. As I hope these things will actually rot. Don't know if they will. They're dead, but the trouble with all this stuff is it's like a blimmin' spring. I mean, pull it back 90 degrees, flick straight back. It's like dealing with a bloody bow and arrow set, you know, just everything springs. And they're so springy and not brittle enough to easily crumple down until they go rotten, and then you can literally come along and bang them with a shovel and compress them that way. Hopefully had these strange ideas involving Rio mesh and bits of RHS laid against it, and then walk up it and hope that it crunches down, and then somehow pull it all back out and lay it somewhere else and keep flattening it that way. Personally, I'd just love to fly over the plane and napalm the fucking lot of it. But, and even blasting stuff in diesel, I've got some things drowned in flipping diesel, and, you know, they won't go up. I've seen it actually burn the diesel off the side of the branch, and by branch, well, not branch, I've seen sticks like that, you know, about the size of my finger, diesel on them. The diesel burns on the stick, and the stick just sits there. And you're like, now what the hell was all that shit? Just burnt the diesel off the wood, but didn't catch the wood on fire. Anyway, I'll give that a snippety snip, and we shall continue on. Okay, hopefully the wind doesn't stuff up the microphone here. Tuning away slowly. I was just working on that one around the corner there, because I already sort of parted a few bits out and actually threw them away from the rest last night. That one's rotten. That's already come off the base up there. That happened last night. And to get this one and get that one. I think there's one of these just needs an individual bit of wood cut, one of the big hunks, and it should just roll free anyway, but I want to roll that one before that, because that'll probably get stuck in the back of this if I don't watch it. Anyway, I've been thinking about all this stuff. There's ideas of jamming straw in, and it sounds great, but then when I got to trying it all, you can't push the straw in far enough. It just sort of, jams on the outside and the inside's still hollow. Plus it'd take a lot of time walking around plucking all this stuff out. And I mean, the whole boxthorn thing's taking a lot of time anyway. I thought to myself, how else can we do this? And I was thinking about getting a bit of fencing wire, like first of all making up a frame with Rio mesh and laying it against it and trying to walk up it to squash it after it's rotted for like 2 years or whatever, because it rots very quickly. In fact, this piece here is a rotten piece of wood. And, yeah, as you can see, I didn't really have to cut it out, I more or less broke it out. It's all rotten up there too. And I had that idea, and then I thought, well, what about somehow if you can dynabolt to some rocks or something, a bit of steel or wood or whatever, that you can clamp some fencing wire to, like some of the stuff here. It's already sort of a mesh shape. And when we tension that up, we've got this thing where it's basically 2 bits of wood, and you put it in the middle, and then you bolt the 2 bits of wood together, and then you actually pull the piece of wood, and it pulls the fence. And I thought, well, maybe we could do something using the rocks as an anchor, or even if we put like you noose it with a big bit of steel cable or a chain or whatever around a rock, and then hook that piece and, somehow attach one side and be able to tension the other side, and basically, it'll be attached here on some rocks, which might be an issue because the rocks are further away, and the same on the other side, and then you start tensioning it, and as you tension it, it just sort of flattens it down. And I thought, shit, there's, what about I know there's, I was thinking about wool baler design, and that'd be good for just getting little scraps, or, like these wool balers are pretty smart, the way they designed the old one that we got there, and you can more or less, you can open one side up, and basically you could walk it in to it and close another side and bring it down. That's a whole massive machine for, it's a lot of stuff for the job that's got to be done. At the end of the day, it'd probably be quicker to sit here and snip it all up with the secateurs and throw it all bit by bit into the bloody fire pit wood heater thingy. And I thought, well, friggin' how the hell's the rest of the world do it? I don't know how the rest of the world does it. I don't think the rest of the world has a real problem, because most of the time the rest of the world does what we do when it's on flat ground, and that's just crush the shit out of it with a front end loader, or ram it up with a bulldozer, or, as we do, sometimes ram it up with a front end loader after pulling it out with a tractor. You get them all together, and then you just push them all in to a pile and keep compressing the pile from one side and the next and the other side and all 4 sides with the loader. And then I remember something. There's a bit of plywood still sitting out there. My father left it there for me to do something that he could manage to do very, very well. He had a boxthorn. I didn't think it was dense enough where the cracker. He burned it without a problem. Big bastard on his fence line. Friggin' huge big bastard. And he got it out, and I'm not joking, a week later he burnt the bloody thing. And I just couldn't work out how he burnt the whole thing so easily. And it just wasn't dense enough and whatnot. And he let me in on it all. And that's something we done here too, and he left a bit of plywood behind. And it's the chimney effect. That's what he calls it anyway. You get a big hunk of plywood and you lay it up against one side. In fact, it doesn't have to be plywood, it can be bloody anything, so long as it doesn't have too many gaps in it, and you lay it up against one side. And it's like as though the flames will run up the back of it. So say if I had a big hunk of plywood laying up here, I could light it from in there or the other side or whatever, and the flames would actually run up the side of this plywood and burn out the whole back, whereas the whole back mightn't do much because it's all open to the air, blah, blah, blah. If I lay something against it, the flames will deliberately run up the back of it like as though it's a bloody chimney, and he calls it the chimney effect. I started thinking a little bit more, and I thought, well, stuff plywood, I can't afford plywood. Plus, you know, most times the plywood burns and you lose that bit of plywood, and then you go through a bit of plywood for every damn bush you do, you know. And thought occurred to me to use steel. Now I could get a bit of 3/4 inch RHS and make a frame up, and I thought, oh, it might be a 2-person thing to carry this frame down. Not necessarily. You have these little U brackets that are small enough, and you can have your top 2 bits and a U bracket spaced apart on your top piece and your bottom piece, and those U brackets will take a 1-inch piece of RHS over the top of them, and basically it just gives you, it's almost like doing it's like a sleeve effect. And there is a certain place where I go and they'll actually tell you what sleeves with what. They've got it all written up, and they show what sizes sleeve with what sizes that they've got in stock. And you just weld one on, and they say, well, you weld this piece here, and this other one will sleeve over it reasonably tight fit. And that it's almost like a tent thing, you know, where you one pipe sleeves over the next, and you go down with basically 4 bits of steel tubing, RHS, and yeah, basically you just have little bits that'll sleeve onto the other little bits to give you a rectangle. Or you can just weld a fucking rectangle yourself, like a big rectangular frame, and just both him and me walk down here with it, because I don't think it's something that one person could carry. Then, to that frame, I'll get out the old impact driver, a whole bunch of self-tapping steel screws, and walk down with a bunch of roof sheets. Put all roof sheets along. So we'll have probably 6-foot tall roof sheets, you know, one, the next, all on a frame. And the bloody frame can be as long as my car for all it matters. Lay the entire thing up against one side and start burning this side. Douse her up with plenty of diesel, woof, chimney effect kicks in, and gone. And that may be the way that we're going to get these ones that ain't dense enough. I'm not a great expert with a chimney effect. He has a real knack with it. I don't. So I'll put all these ideas to him at a later point, and maybe go ahead and build it. And I'll see what he reckons about it all first before I go running out buying steel for it. And the fact of the matter is I don't really have enough money to go around running around buying a whole heap of anything at the moment until I'm back in a job. And yeah, anyway, I think my damn fire pit wood heater's slowed down again, so I've got to go back up there and reload it and come down and continue on with it. With a bit of luck, I should get, say a heap of these, most of these, done before the sun goes down. But anyway, we're got a few in already, so it's not as unproductive as I thought it was gonna be. Like I've got more in than I thought, and if we get most of these, then that would have been quite a productive day. Ooh, you can't see much. Basically, you just flatten the batteries. I only have a little scraggle left to go here, and that would have been it. And if the batteries had gone on, I could probably just work under these last little dribs and drabs of light to get this last little scrap in. But my batteries just died. It doesn't really matter. I was really wondering if it was a need to absolutely finish it perfectly anyway, because as you can tell, it's getting dark, and I sort of was running out of energy there for a bit, but it looks shocking. It looks quite impressive what we've opened up, although you can't see it. Yeah, pile's getting rather large. I've got another bunch that's above it, and I intend to cut those. That was a reasonably tight bunch. I tried to light those. It wasn't going to happen. That was last year when I was burning all the rest. Burned a little patch, didn't do much more than that. And they just happened to be directly above the big patch that I'm rolling everything into, so I might cut them down and just roll them straight down the hill because they are directly above it. So anyway, I'll chuck a bit more stuff into my little fire pit and call it a day, I reckon. Fire pit needs refilling, I reckon. And you'll see at some point the logs that are right in front of me now. Oh yeah, we got a lot of firewood out of this last one here. Quite impressive. And a good heap of it burnt last year. I cut it down, it fell down. The top, which was all just little prickles and that burnt, and I was left mainly with a bunch of sticks. And in that is some decent logs. So, yeah. Anyway, you'll see all this at a later point. There's a couple of blasted peppercorn dags and whatnot. I wasn't going to put them in. One of the peppercorns is so close to the fire pit now, I might as well just bloody put the chunks in anyway. And it looks like there's an entire branch of it that's died. So I'll leave that on, but keep that in mind for a log for another time. But I don't really need any more logs now. The whole place is littered with them. So anyway, I've got my little buckets full of wood. Plenty more buckets worth down here that are already just off cuts. And it's probably another 3 buckets worth, but I've got 2 buckets full now, so I'll be taking those 2 buckets back. Yeah.